Hey everyone, so I wanted to record a quick video for you all. I've been posting on my Instagram over the last week or so some different embossed designs. So this is one of them that you may have seen for the new year. And I have gotten some interest, I think, in trying to do this yourself. So I wanted to make a video for you on how I am doing this. So this is just the example that I have done already. So I actually did the calligraphy on this first and then do the embossing. So I don't have any sort of machine to do this. So I'm kind of figured out how to do it by hand. The designs have to stay pretty simple, otherwise it'll take quite a while, and I'll show you a little bit about that. But pretty much all you're doing is making a template like this, and then you put it on top of your paper that you have, and then you push from the back side. So you can kind of see here that I have pushed the paper through that template, and that's what gives it that 3D effect. So I am going to be doing a different design actually for this tutorial, but it is exactly how I made this one here. So first of all, a couple of the tools that you're going to need. So I tried keeping this as simple as possible. So you're going to need some sort of design. So I made this one just on my computer and just printed it off. I just found a font that I liked. So we're going to be doing this ampersand today. And then I do have some crop marks on here because I wanted to put it on a 5x7 card. So any design you could draw it yourself or do like I did here and just find something online and print it off. So you have your design. You're going to need something to make the template out of. So like I showed you before, this was my template here. So it just needs to be something fairly, I mean, not even actually that thick. So this is a piece of like 140-pound watercolor paper. So you can use something like this. If you don't have that laying around, I think like a thinner cardboard, like a cereal box or something might work pretty good. So something that has a little bit of thickness to it, but you are going to need to be cutting through it. So don't get it too thick or too hard to cut. So speaking of cutting, you're going to need some sort of like X-Acto blade, something that you can make those cuts with. A pencil to trace your design onto your paper here. Once we get to the actual making the embossing, so you're going to need like a finished piece of paper. So this is actually just a cardstock, so it's not really that fancy of a paper, but something a little bit lighter because you do need to like be able to push this down. So you can do it out of like a watercolor paper. I think I've actually done a couple of those already, but when the paper is just a little bit thinner like this, it does make it a little bit easier to push. And when you push, you want something kind of smooth. So this is a bone folder that actually it's not even mine, it's my husband's that he uses for leatherworking sort of stuff. So I stole that from him. So I've been using his bone folder a little bit, but you can also even use just like, this is just the back of like a paintbrush. So you could see here, the back of it is pretty rounded and smooth. So that works well when you're trying to push. So I'll show you when we get into the example how that works. And I also have my light table here. So this isn't absolutely necessary, but it's helped me a little bit. I'll give you a couple different options too if you don't have a light table of what you can do. So let's get started with our actual example here. So I have my ampersand here, and then this piece of paper is what I would want to use to cut out my template. So what is nice to have, the light table is just an easy way to transfer your design. So all I want to do here is just line up my design with the corners there too, just so I know I had centered my ampersand when I was on the computer, so I know it's centered in my paper. And then you can just turn on your light box there and then just go ahead and trace it. So easy as that. If you don't have a light table, you can also use transfer paper if you have that. So all that is, it'll be like another piece of paper that kind of has some sort of substance on it that you then put in between your finished piece of paper below and this, and then you just kind of like push on the edges and that will transfer that over. Or even just the easiest thing to do, if you have a soft pencil, like a 4B, 6B, something like that, just scribble on the back over your design with that soft pencil and then do the same thing. Put it over top of your finished paper and you could just trace those outlines and it's going to transfer to your paper. So actually why I'm not doing this on camera here is because I don't have my cutting mat with me right here and I've actually already cut this out. So you're going to transfer it onto a piece of paper like this and then take your X-Acto knife and you're going to cut it out. So I have my cutout right here, so let me actually just move a couple things aside here so we can see this a little bit better. So you don't need your design anymore once you have it transferred. I am going to get rid of my light table here just so it's out of the way. And I just have my design here. So I did make a couple modifications. Actually, let me bring this back out so you can see. So the hard thing with this is, or maybe not hard, but just something to pay attention to, is if you have like enclosed circles. So you see here and here, if I were to just cut this out, that wouldn't be attached to anything that's like on the outside, right? So if I were to cut that out, those would just fall off and I wouldn't have those for my design anymore. So what I did was create just a little bit of space. And I didn't have to do it here. There was nothing enclosed, no enclosed circle here. I didn't have to do this, but I thought just to kind of like continue that same design, I would. And I did the same thing on the other side here. So right here, that now makes that circle attached to the rest of it. And then right here, those two now make that portion attached to the rest of it too. So I made those just little modifications. And pretty much then you're ready to go. So there's another kind of trick too that I've found that the light table is useful for. So let me just explain real quick what we're doing here. So this again is going to be my finished piece of paper that has the embossing on it. So what I want to do, if this is the front side of the paper here, I want to lay my template over it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to push from the back. But this is my problem here, is how do I know where to push, right? I can't see the design anymore. So that's one thing that the light table is useful for, that if you can see, you can kind of test it and see if when you turn the light table on, if you can see through, can you see your design? I have found this blue paper, I cannot. So another trick that I've found is to just kind of it doesn't have to be perfect, but trace this design on the back side. So again, I'm looking at this, okay, this is not, like I can't mirror this, it has to be this way, right? So I just laid it down how I want it to look on the front side of my paper. I'm gonna flip it over, and now I'm gonna take the template and just lay it over on the back side so I can trace. And you can see here, I actually used a piece of paper. It had like an old drawing on it that I had made a mistake or I did something with. So I like reusing paper whenever I can. So this is a good time. The template is never anything that you're going to see like with the finished product. So if you can use scraps you have laying around or something that you don't need anymore, use the back side. I think that's a great thing to do. Okay, so I'm just tracing my design on the back. So now I'm gonna know where I need to push. So this might, when I like put it on here, it might not align exactly, but it'll be close enough. So again, this is my front side of the paper here. I'm laying my template on top of that and having my design like in the direction that I want it. So since this is not reversible, I did a couple snowflakes too, and those like perfectly mirrored. So it really didn't matter which way I laid this on, but if it's something that cannot be mirrored, you need to pay attention to the way that you put this on. So it's on the front side. I just put another couple little pieces of tape just to hold it there. So maybe I should have talked about that with tools that you need. And then flip it over, and I'm gonna push on the back side here. So I'm gonna start with my bone folder, and I'm just giving it pressure and really focusing on those edges. So actually I have found that even with like a big area here, really actually if you just push on the edges, that will transfer the design just fine. You like don't need to actually go through here. I'm gonna try to not shake my camera too much. I'm sorry about that, but I have my camera on my desk here and I'm giving it some real good pressure. So you don't need to push that much in the middle, but really if you get those edges real nice and good, that's really what's gonna make that design. So I am applying quite a bit of pressure here. So you can see I'm just focusing where I have my pencil lines. I'm turning the paper whenever I need to just to make this easiest. I feel like this kind of can be a little bit hard on your hand or a little bit hard on your wrist. So move your paper and your design around here to like be able to push maybe more ergonomically. And just go through and push your whole design in. So you can see here, I'd mentioned, since we're doing this by hand, that actually it's probably best to keep your design pretty simple, because each one you make, you're gonna have to do this by hand. So this is kind of similar to, say, a letterpress, but then again, that's a machine that's doing all that work, right? So you make a plate, kind of like my template. Usually they are out of metal, and then you put it over your piece of paper and the machine will push down. But I don't have space for one of those machines. I don't really have the money for one of them right now. I think it would be pretty cool to have a letterpress machine, but I do think they make some smaller. You always see the really big ones. I do think they make some smaller versions that end up being a bit more tabletop, but okay. So I did pretty good there. So I have the bone folder. Again, you can also use like the backside of like a paintbrush or anything that you could find that's kind of smooth on the edge. And I even like, even with having the bone folder, I like to take my paintbrush and really get like the kind of like smaller corners, make sure I get those really good. Even just, oh, sorry if it's squeaking a little bit. It's just kind of a plastic paintbrush, so it makes some funny noises here. Okay, and so you can check it now. So I like to leave one piece of the tape in place, and you can flip it over and you can check it. See, and that's looking pretty good. So I actually can see in here a little bit, and I can just put it back in place if I feel like I need something more. I can kind of see that edge there, so maybe I will. This is even like a bigger side of the bone folder. Just kind of push in here in the middle a little bit just to try to get rid of some of those lines. So you can always, yeah, check your design, see how it's looking, see if you missed anything, depending on how complicated it is. And then just go back and fix anything that you might have missed. So I think that should be pretty good. Let's take this off again. And that's it. There is your ampersand. And like I said before too, if you wanted to do any sort of drawing or writing, I would do that first, let it dry really well, and then go ahead and just do this process. So hopefully that helps give you a few tips and tricks, and I hope that you try this yourself, because it's been a lot of fun and I'm kind of obsessed with these designs, so I'm sure you'll be seeing some more of these from me. So I hope you have fun with it, and I'll be back later with more tutorials. Thanks.